Newcastle have proven that they can mix it with the big boys. A 1-1 draw away at PSG. Unbelievably proud of the boys. Well done. How's everybody? Welcome back to the Fontainer. Yes, Newcastle have proven that they can go toe-to-toe with the reigning champions PSG in the Champions League, and they earned a very, very respectable 1-1 draw. Unfortunately, it still means that they are the only English club which needs to go through a next round of qualifiers before the last round of 16. We'll get onto who they might be drawn up against later on in the video. But for now, let's look at how the match went. And it took only 60 seconds for the first flashpoint in the game. A penalty awarded against Newcastle. Again, the right back. Last time it was Livramento 2 seasons ago, which robbed Newcastle of a victory in the Champions League. Again, this handball rule in Champions League has come back and bit Newcastle in the backside. Lewis Marley playing at right back for Newcastle in a completely shaken up formation. Eddie Howe has proven that he can change things up. He went for 3 at the back. This is the formation. We had Thiaw, Botman and Byrne at the back. Byrne coming back from the first game. He had the captain's armband as well. Gomaresh wasn't fit enough to play. He was named on the bench, but a back 3 of Thiaw, Botman and Byrne. We then had Miley covering at right back in place of Trips, and then Hall in his favourite left back position. We had Ramsey and Tonali dogs in the midfield, and then Elanga with a pace on the right. Willock playing in his favourite position, I would argue. A little bit more freedom, but also tracking back and helped Hall as well. And then Voltemade up front. We'll talk about how Voltemade performed. There's a bit of mixed reviews on how he did for Newcastle on the night. But as I was saying, 60 seconds in, Louis Marley covering at right back gets adjudged via the VAR. It wasn't given on the field. It went to VAR. The referee reviewed the monitors, and it was deemed that Louis Marley handled the ball. Now, when I saw this, I thought, oh no, here we go again. Same old, same old. Absolutely stitched up by the refereeing and the Champions League format of what qualifies as a handball. It comes off the Newcastle defender onto Barker's elbow and then to Louis Miley's hand. Now, I think we need to remember it's called handball, not ball hand. What really qualifies for handball in the Champions League? Honestly, I think if you stood a meter away from somebody and smashed it into their hand, and as long as that hand is away from the person's body, you're going to get a penalty. It's absolutely ridiculous, absolute joke. Anyways, Nick Pope saves the penalty, absolute scenes. But Newcastle in the opening stages of the game were really on the ropes. PSG's wingers and attacking midfielders were swarming forward. And it wasn't long after that Vitinha picks the ball up and puts it into the bottom right-hand corner. But before that goal came, I noticed something. Where is Dan Byrne? Dan Byrne was tracking Hakimi, which is PSG's right back. And Dan Byrne, literally 10 seconds before Vitinha scored the goal, was tracking Hakimi way, way forward in PSG's half. And I was thinking to myself, what are you doing? Why are you man-marking Achraf Hakimi, who is PSG's right back? He had come into the centre of midfield, and Dan Byrne was chasing him everywhere. A couple of seconds later, Vitinha's just outside our box. He's got an open goal, and if you look at the screenshots, Dan Byrne's just running to try and make it back. This was obviously a tactic from Eddie Howe on the night. Because we had 3 central defenders, one of them was always going to be free, and it was very clear and evident that Byrne was asked to push up all the way front and man mark the playmaker for PSG, whoever that might be. We saw Thiaw many times in the PSG half and chasing down the ball players of PSG, irregardless of where that position was. When we saw it go to 1-0 down, we think this is going to be an absolutely long night. But to be fair to Newcastle and the players who were on the pitch, they didn't lose their heads. They grew into the game. A lot of composure. We seemed really, really, really solid in defense. But we worked the ball up really nicely going forward. Didn't have many chances. Late in the first half, Newcastle pulled it back to 1-1. A flick on from Dan Byrne at the near post. We had almost done that a couple of minutes ago, but again, he got the flick on. And Joe Willock, who had his best game for Newcastle in years, possibly because of where he was playing, ran into the box and scored a great header past the PSG keeper, who had an absolute nightmare. He had butterfingers. He was flapping at everything. And during the game, I was thinking to myself, just somebody have a pop at 35 yards this guy can't catch the ball. It was a pretty solid second half. Not many opportunities. The one big opportunity fell to Harvey Barnes. Eddie Howe brought on Anthony Gordon, and Harvey Barnes, you could argue, the most informed player in Harvey Barnes and Anthony Gordon, who found so much space in behind the PSG players. And you could see Luis Enrique absolutely tearing his hair out. He squares the ball to Harvey Barnes. It just goes a yard outside the post. The linesman puts his flag up offsides. It turns out that had the ball gone in, VAR would have had to review the goal, and he would have been marginally onside. So Newcastle would have been 2-1 up, and who knows what would have happened at the end of the game. Let's talk a little bit about individual performances. I thought Louis Miley, again at right back, is really pushing for an England call-up in the World Cup. He does remind me a little bit of James Milner in the sense that he can play right back, he can play central midfield, he can maybe play attacking midfield as well. Sometimes that can be to his own detriment because you don't really cement yourself in a certain position, but it helps to have a utility player in a limited squad of 26 in a tournament of somebody who can cover various different positions. The guy's only 19. He got given the captain's armband at the end of the PSV game a couple of weeks ago. I just hope that Newcastle can hold on to the player and don't see him as an Elliot Anderson type-esque cash in because he's homegrown. Going on to Jacob Ramsey, by far his best game in the Newcastle shirt. I think himself and Elanga and Willock had their best game in a long, long time for Newcastle. And it might have something to do with having that confidence from Eddie Howe saying, look, I know Anthony Gordon is our top scorer in the Champions League. I know Harvey Barnes has been our most informed player for the Premier League, but we're going to try something completely different. The fans were calling out for it. Eddie Howe obviously saw the same thing, completely changed it. And from Eddie Howe's point of view, I did give him a bit of a review in my last video. Please go check that out. He showed that he does have the adaptability to go toe-to-toe with the big, big boys in Europe. You would argue we didn't have Bruno, we didn't have Joelinton as well, either in the team. And Ramsey, Elanga, and Willock definitely stepped up and took their chance. And he's given Eddie Howe some good headaches for this weekend's game against Liverpool in the league. It'll be interesting to see if he goes back to the 4-3-3 or whether or not he sticks with this 3 at the back. I do think the 3 at the back does give you a bit more options and a bit more flexibility with what you can do with your midfield and forward players. He seemed a lot more confident on the ball. He is stronger and he can play a pass. It was really great for me to see him feel confident to show what he can do in a Newcastle shirt. And hopefully with a bit more games, the stick that a lot of fans, the stick that lots of fans have been giving him in terms of wasted money in the summer will mean that actually he can come good. And definitely with Anthony Elanga, price tags do sometimes weigh heavily on a couple of players. Ramsey was bought in for 40 million, Elanga for 55, but he definitely had the best game. Willock proved as well that he can be an attacking threat. He was absolutely flagging at the end. When players are running and their heads are up, he definitely gave everything he could in those 63 minutes before Anthony Gordon came and took over on the left wing. I mean, Dan Burn, what a boykie. What an absolute gem. I mean, this guy, he's just so proud to have him as a Newcastle player. I believe he won the Man of the Match award as well. Lewis Hall, his stock is rising game by game by game. He's got so much confidence on the ball. Whenever he's got the ball and he's one-on-one, I feel so safe and confident that he can get out of a cul-de-sac. He can pick a pass. He's got pace. He's got strength. He must be England's first choice left back. We can't go back to Luke Shaw, surely. Touching on Anthony Elanga, he provided some real threat and pace. Because PSG pushed so high up, that ball over the top was always on. I think Botman and Chow did a couple of times miss opportunities to just ping that ball over the top because Anthony Elanga is the fastest player in our team, and it's more so about what he does when he gets the ball as opposed to him actually getting the ball. We know that when he's got the ball and he's got space to run down the flank or over chasing a chip ball, more likely than not he's going to get the ball. The question more is about, can he play across? Can he pull it back to somebody arriving into the box? Or can he cut inside and do something? I really, really hope that it goes well for him. Maybe he gets more of an opportunity on the right wing. I know Jacob Murphy's coming back to fitness, but I do think we need to stick with Harvey Barnes in the Premier League at least on the left wing and maybe give Elanga some more game time on that right wing. His confidence must surely be up from performing so well last night. And now we have to speak about Nick Woltemade. Very, very mixed feedback on him. When I was watching the game last night, the thing, unfortunately, the first word which comes to my mind was he's a table tennis table. Everything was just pinging off him. I've said this before, when he does get the ball, I thought to myself, he's going to lose it. Whenever he does get the ball, he kind of dribbles backwards and then is playing a pass back. But he doesn't then have the pace to stretch the defense as soon as he's laid the pass off to then run backward for the through pass. He's never going to outstrip any central defender. And it did get me thinking about what kind of striker could he be for us? Because he's never going to be that number 9 in the center of the box heading all the balls in. He's never going to be a player that goes one-on-one with a goalkeeper because he's just not got the pace. He's got that Peter Crouch, lanky tapeworm style about him where he looks really awkward when he's running. And unfortunately, I've said this before, he doesn't have that Drogba, Diego Costa type strength either, where he can just hold the ball Nalcoin-esque and just lay it off to anybody. He's not strong. He's not fast. He's not great at heading. Okay, well, what is he good at? Unfortunately, we've seen him do finishes in the box. Now, the way Newcastle have been playing in the league is we very rarely have Woltemade have opportunities in the box. It's always teams playing low blocks against us. He does have a good touch. His confidence does seem low at the moment. And when he was on the pitch, I was thinking, what is he there for? He's there as a chess player on the board. He's not really threatening. He's not defending. What is he really doing? And I know we've got to be patient, and everybody, including myself, really wants him to do well. But it just feels a little bit awkward. If he was bought for 20 million, 30 million, you'd kind of go, give him some time. I just don't know if he's got the attributes to be playing as a number 9 up front by himself in a Newcastle Eddie Howe side. It's going to be interesting to see what Eddie Howe does with him, how he develops him. I have full faith that if anyone can get him back banging the goals in, it is Eddie Howe and his coaching staff. When Visa comes on, it was the same thing. The only thing with Visa is he does have pace. He can, when he presses the ball, there's more risk associated to the defenders when he presses because it's possible that he might actually tackle a player. Woltemade presses a player and it's more for show to force him into making a pass. Visa, when he presses a player, might actually turn over possession. Woltemade is only 23. He's a young lad. He's got a heavy price tag. Newcastle's record signing at 65 million, possibly rising to 69. Let's give him more time and make more of an assessment at the end of the season. So because PSG and Newcastle drew last night, it meant both of the clubs are now not in the top 8. The top 8 in the Champions League qualify automatically for the last 16. The teams between 9th and 24th position go into a 2-legged qualifier. The winner of that then goes into the last 16. After the game, we found out that Newcastle's possible opponents is either going to be Monaco or Qarabag. Qarabag got spanked 6-0 at Liverpool. If I could choose between Qarabag and Monaco, I'd probably choose Qarabag, the Azerbaijan team. Monaco, a little bit of a banana peel, but either way, I'll be fairly confident that if Newcastle put in a performance anywhere near like what they did against PSG, will be absolutely fine. It does mean 2 more games. It does mean more risk of tiredness and injuries and fatigue with a squad that doesn't look likely to be improved or added to in this winter transfer window. And if Newcastle get through either Qarabag or Monaco, whichever it is, it then means we go into the last 16 against either Chelsea or Barcelona. Now, both of those are mouth-watering ties. You think the more kind of Hollywood showbiz game is the Barcelona game. We've obviously lost to them this season in the Champions League. With Chelsea, we've had a couple of mixed results. Personally, I would like to see the tune drawn against Chelsea. I think there's more likelihood we could get an away result. But, if they pitch up like they did against PSG, there's absolutely no reason why Newcastle couldn't beat Chelsea or Barcelona. I just think they'd more likely fancy themselves against Chelsea at Stamford Bridge. So in summary, I just want to say absolutely well done to Newcastle. I felt so proud watching the boys last night. They made me really, really, really feel as if the team are back. They've proven they can do it against the big boys. The only slight thought I had at the back of my mind was, and I said this before, was that Newcastle have proven they can do this. And it's just such a shame that when we look forward to next season's Champions League, Newcastle are going to have to pull up trees if they're going to qualify in the top 5 in the Premier League this season. Arsenal, Aston Villa, and Man City look like they're going to be fighting it out for the title. Chelsea and Man United seem to be getting back to their consistent base at the league. And then you've got Liverpool as well. So we're playing Liverpool on the weekend. That's going to be an interesting game on Saturday night. Really hope the boys can rest and recover. Well done, Eddie Howe. Well done, every single one of the players, from Nick Pope all the way to Voltemade. Everyone tried their guts out. Really proud of you. And come on, let's go beat Liverpool. Don't forget.